Right, so there was a little bit of entertainment on Twitter last night as the RSPB, Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, the largest conservation charity in the UK, no less, put together a fabulous little thread, repeatedly and unequivocally calling the Tory party liars to their faces, pretty well, to their face so much as putting this on social media goes, for their ongoing decimation of environmental protections, of which I spoke about in a video yesterday regarding the scrapping of environmental protections on house building schemes, on developments, to encourage more house building. Nice little launch by Rishi Sunak and Michael Gove in high-vis jackets up in flood-prone Norfolk, but much better known as a result of our rivers having been ruined with repeated sewage spills deliberately being made by our water companies. Yes, they do have to clean these up apparently, but with Therese Coffey having kicked that can decades down the road, and with these companies no closer to being renationalised under a future Starmer government than it would be under this Tory one. This is a situation that's not going to change soon. Costs to clean it up will no doubt be passed on to us, as they always are. The situation that will be made worse with this latest development legislation being binned, all of it being former EU legislation, of course. So thank you, Brexit, for our stinky, murky, brown-affected waterways. Gove, incidentally, is back in the news today, after apparently having taken two £50,000 donations from a property company just last year, which can't possibly have anything to do with any of this, can it? Anyway, the RSPB has waded in on this story, pun intended, with a Twitter thread stating, liars! Good start. Rishi Sunak, Michael Gove, Therese Coffey, you said you wouldn't weaken environmental protections, and yet that is what you are doing. You lie, and you lie, and you lie again, and we have had enough. Yesterday, your government announced the first reversal in environmental legislation in decades. This, the so-called Nutrients Neutrality Amendment, which I spoke about yesterday, the removal of dumping in rivers effectively is something developers need to worry about. The RSPB continued that. And all the while you have pretended to be a government that cares about nature. It's now patently clear that you do not. Here's a record of just some of your lies on the environment. In the 2019 Tory manifesto, you pledged to deliver the most ambitious environmental programme of any country on earth. Lie! Rishi Sunak, in your first speech as Prime Minister, you said you would deliver on this manifesto promise of protecting the environment. Lie! Rishi Sunak, on the 17th of August 2022, you said you were committed to protecting our environment for future generations. Lie! Therese Coffey, on the 25th of July 2023, you wrote to the Office for Environmental Protection and said you were clear in Parliament about the government's commitment to uphold environmental protections. Lie! Michael Gove, when you were Environment Secretary, you pledged to do all we can to protect our precious natural environment. Lie! Michael Gove, in July 2019, you spoke about how protecting the environment was a critical duty of government. Lie! We need the lies to stop and the work to save our nature in the country to start. Our members, supporters, and everyone who loves nature demands it. Each and every one of those sentences, punctuated at the end with the word lie, linked directly to one of the government's own web pages, exposing their dishonesty, hypocrisy, and at the risk of overusing the word, though you can't really when it's the Tories, can you? Lies. Well, it all got the RSPB trending last night on Twitter, on the Bird site, or the former Bird site before it became an X. People full of praise for the organisation for laying into the Tories their wrecking of our countryside, our waterways and our environment. For little more than a one-day attention-grabbing attempt at a headline on house building, something they failed miserably to do enough of in 13 years, which in itself failed because all anyone spoke about was more pollution being dumped in the rivers on top of what is already there, thanks to our water companies. But the RSPB now had Sunak, Gove and Coffey nailed on this. No amount of weasel words from them would change people's minds, surely. It is widely appreciated even by Tory voters that their party is not one that can be trusted with our environment. It's why many former Tory voters have come across to the Green Party, because there is concern for the environment amongst some of their voters. And indeed, many of these people will be those funding charities like the RSPB. Of course, not everybody funding the RSPB may have been very happy about their attack on the Tory party. In fact, we know some weren't. Some are concerned about the environment, but their apparent tribalist, greed-driven self-servitude supersedes their charitability. At least that's what I think has happened, because later in the evening, the RSPB frankly let themselves and the environment down again by issuing an apology to the Tory party. That's akin to somebody knocking you down and putting the boot in and you apologising to them for leaving a mark on their shoe. Not only do more wealthy types have the money, none of the rest of us do, to hand to charities. For some of them, it'll be a tax deductible as well. But there are those within the RSPB who have lashed out against their own charity for attacking the Tories as they have. One of them was one of their trustees, Dr. Ben Caldecott, raised objections with the RSPB chair and CEO, no less, saying, whatever one thinks of the government's proposals on this policy and their record on nature, these tweets are simply not an appropriate contribution to our public discourse from such an important and highly respected organisation. We can strongly disagree and make our case without calling people liars. As a trustee, I have raised this issue urgently with the CEO and chair, amongst others. Like I said, environmentalists all, but for some, coming out to bat for the Tory party appears to have been more important. The thread literally uses the government's own information that it has published on its own website against them. And a liar is a liar. If they are one, call them one. This isn't Dawn Butler in the House of Commons. This is ordinary real life. We can do it, and why shouldn't we when this is what the government are doing? And it's all damage at the end of the day we're all going to pay for, financially, or ecological damage that may be irreversible or won't recover within our own lifetimes. And you're wringing your hand over the language used? Stick your head in the nearest stream and have a good swig. Go on, do it. You wouldn't, would you? And when the Tories like Gove are going on telly saying our water is cleaner than ever, don't be surprised when people indicate that he's lying to you by calling him a liar. Call them out for it. Call them what they are. The RSPB have rode back publicly stating that it was wrong to attack the people rather than the policy. Well, these people made the policy. These people broke their promises. A policy doesn't lie. It can't lie. It is what it is, written in black and white. It is what the people who shaped that policy have said previously that it should be held to account for now. And in my opinion, that is exactly what the RSPB did. To their credit, they've left these tweets still up. This thread is still there. And it's now been viewed more than 3 million times. They have got a message out and hammered home who is responsible, and we should all hold the politicians involved responsible and praise the RSPB for their bravery and what they did, not decry them to the point they've now apologised for it. I'm glad at least that they haven't apologised for the tweets and insofar as they've taken them down. They've maintained them, and they maintain that the government has reneged on its environmental promises as a result of that. And if the government lied, they're liars. End of the day, and I will always call a liar a liar. We have far too many of them in Parliament. We have had them for far too long, and that is why trust in politics is always low, and pussyfooting around that issue for fear of causing offence isn't helping to change anything. Blunt, straight-talking exposure does, because people latch onto that. The RSPB themselves have proven that with how viral their thread went. So ignore those bleating about choice of language. We carried on doing things their way for the sake of politeness. Frankly, fewer people would take notice and these things would never be seen. And the stories about them would get buried and lost. A spade is a spade and a liar is a liar. The RSPB came with a spade. Stuff those demanding they put it back in their shed. What do you reckon, though? Is the language inappropriate? Is that a big issue? Is it really important? Do you think they'd not carry more weight by not calling people liars? Or should people be more straight-talking and less political about it, if we can put it like that? Let me know in the comments below, or any other thoughts you might have had on this, and join in the conversation, please do. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video useful. Please like, share, and subscribe if you did. More content out daily, telling it like it is. No flowery language from me, though on occasion it might be a little earthy. Meanwhile, here's a bid recommendation for you. If you're not up to what Gove has been up to with shredding these planning rules and protecting the environment, which he blatantly isn't anymore, even though he claims otherwise, we'll have a butcher's of this, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next video. Cheers, folks.